Theater has always been a way to be a mirror to our own experience.
Talk about all the things that you love about St. Louis that probably we all take for granted.
The painting is what really kept me alive.
Today on Spotlight, a group dedicated to attract new businesses to St. Louis. Plus, WashU's COVID research on homemade face masks. And then meet a 100-year-old artist who once sketched a famous poet. But first, bringing theater to you virtually. It's Sunday and you're watching Spotlight.
Theater is one of the only places in the world where people can sit shoulder to shoulder together and share a common experience.
But what happens when a common experience makes it unsafe for people to sit in a theater shoulder to shoulder? Hoping to reconcile that dilemma, Metro Theater Company, which specializes in creating theater for young audiences, is bringing people together virtually to create theater based on the common experience now keeping us apart.
I'm worried because I'm eating too many snacks, and then being worried makes me eat more snacks, which makes me worried I'm eating too many snacks.
It's called the COVID-19 Memory Project. People submit accounts of their experiences during the pandemic that are then turned into theater. Where did this idea come from?
In a virtual board meeting, actually, one of the board members mentioned that young people growing up at this time are going to have a completely different experience than the rest of us. We didn't know what kind of art we would make out of it eventually, but we thought we should have a way to let people record what they were going through as they were going through it.
Look, things are going to change real soon.
In theater, I think what we do best is tell stories. And oftentimes those stories can entertain, they can, delight, they can be an escape, but sometimes those stories also can help us to reflect and to respond and to heal.
Metro's initial intention was to save the material for a future project, but decided instead to take some of the initial submissions and turn them into a video for the Arts United STL benefit held in May.
It's weird walking in the grocery store and feeling scared.
Probably the one that hit me the hardest is the one from the young girl whose mother is Asian.
People have turned around and gone the other way, given her dirty looks.
It's about people treating her mother badly, blatant racism, born of the idea that it's a Chinese flu or all those things we heard in the early days.
People are scared, and that makes them judge and assume so much more.
Watching that kind of progression of the way people can behave that is so painful.
We've had submissions from Texas, from upstate New York, and the woman who submitted from New York had shared the experience of being an adult daughter of a mother who was experiencing Alzheimer's, and it became impossible for her to visit her mother, and her concern was that when she saw her mother again, her mother wouldn't know who she was.
As submissions continue to come in, Metro Theater Company is looking for new ways to curate the material.
Coming up in July, we'll have our first short Zoom play. That's actually being done in partnership with the Missouri Historical Society.
What is a Zoom play?
This is a play that's a dramatization of a Zoom call. So it's a Zoom play about a Zoom call.
Nobody could argue with that.
This summer, in conjunction with HEC TV, Metro Theater Company has also been offering streaming versions of past shows. In July, it will be In This Corner, Cassius Clay. By October, they hope to resume live performances of some of the newest plays being written. But until then, they'll just have to take your word for it. What seems to be the common thread? If you had to do a word cloud, what words would be popping up?
Oh, that's a great question. I think gratitude. I think loneliness. I think missing. People are missing things. Theater has always been a way to have a window into another person's experience, and also to be a mirror to our own experience. I think that when we get 2 or 3 years from now, or 10 years from now, or even 6 months from now, it will be wonderful to come together into a space and watch actors reflect back the experience that we have lived through.
Follow HEC Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
If this building was being advertised by a real estate agent, he or she would probably say it was definitely a fixer-upper.
I chipped a little bit out with a hammer, discovered the portrait.
When we find something like this, it's inevitable there's other things we're going to learn along the way.
You're in a magical place.
When restored, it will be, once again, the Gardens Museum.
Oh, we got an eye!
How do you tell the story of St. Louis? Beer, brick, and baseball are certainly part of the narrative, but Alliance STL is sharing stories of talent, of a collaborative business environment, of diverse educational opportunities, and of biotech, plant science, health, and geospatial expertise. Alliance STL has teamed up with the STL Made campaign to help spread the word about our quality of life, Midwestern generosity, and world-class arts and culture. Formed in March 2019 and housed inside the St. Louis Regional Chamber, Alliance STL's mission is to win new businesses looking to relocate or expand and jobs for the greater St. Louis region. And they're already succeeding at promoting St. Louis and attracting companies, recently bringing 1,400 jobs with Accenture Federal Services. At the helm of Alliance STL is Steve Johnson. The former president of the Missouri Partnership and his team are presenting a unified message about St. Louis and the many advantages it offers to businesses. Recently, HEC President Dennis Riggs spoke with Johnson about the unique opportunity Alliance STL presents.
We will recruit businesses to St. Louis that would not have come here otherwise. Take a look at our board of directors. It's a very strong board made up of CEO leadership from around St. Louis. When you have those people coming together and say, this is what we want to do, and you see how engaged they are and how much they want this to be successful, that's what gets you excited. And that's what made me leave a job that I thought I would be at for the rest of my career, an organization I loved, the Missouri Partnership. But that's what made me say, this is something I want to do, and see if we can begin the process of building an organization that over the next several decades becomes one of just the best in the United States.
You took a lot of very high-level people to come together to make this happen.
Yeah. I think St. Louis had entered a phase over the last couple of years where there was a little bit of uncertainty in the marketplace as to who was doing what, and the business leaders, I think, came together and said, you know, we understand that so this term economic development can be used to apply to about anything you want it to. They get that, they understand that. But they said we need a more concentrated, focused effort in St. Louis on telling St. Louis's story and actively, professionally recruiting business to the region. We want the metropolitan area to coalesce around this one organization. I mean, it's nothing we can do without partners throughout the entire metropolitan area. And it's not that none of this was going on, but saying, let's double down on how we tell the St. Louis story and how we go about it from a professional standpoint of recruiting business, because it's a very competitive business.
Let me give you an opportunity to look at the camera over my shoulder and talk directly to the hundreds of thousands of people who will watch this and give them your elevator pitch. What can they do to help you, either directly or indirectly?
So when you're on the airplane, and don't apologize for being from St. Louis. Talk to people about all the things that are going on in the region. We've got this midtown corridor. Look at Arch to Park, and there's just basically the spine along Market Street. That I think there's over $8 billion worth of investment going on. Talk about just all the things that you love about St. Louis that probably we all take for granted. Talk about the affordability of St. Louis. I think we're the 9th most affordable major market in the country. And just start promoting St. Louis for everything that you can, because it makes a difference.
To see the full exclusive interview, visit hecmedia.org. A performance by Matco, later on Spotlight.
Do-it-yourself face masks, now a trend based on necessity. There are the do's and don'ts, but there is a science to getting it as good as you can make it. PhD student David Dunraj in the McKelvey School of Engineering at Washington University in St. Louis is testing materials to determine best alternatives to N95s.
Say if you have 100 particles, how many of it will the fabric capture? So an N95 will capture 95 or more. So that's why the name N95.
N95s are at least 95% efficient, filtering out the most penetrating particle size, which is why it's desired as protection against COVID-19. But with a shortage, Dunraj is testing filtration efficiency of accessible materials. The work is done in the Aerosol and Air Quality Research Laboratory in the Center for Aerosol Science and Engineering.
We put the mask on a mannequin, as you can see, and the chamber is populated with an aerosol.
While it's no surprise some common cloth materials are not nearly as effective filtering out COVID-19 viral particles, this one is closer to N95 performance. That's if it can be made to fit the face well enough without leaks. This is a halyard fabric, a medical-grade fabric cloth. It's used for hospital gowns or sterilization wraps.
Some of the ones that we've tested that have the hospital gown, and then we put this inside this filter holder and test it directly. So as you can see, it's a metal filter holder, and there is absolutely no leak at all while we test a fabric. But then a mask, there will be some leaks.
He says the medical-grade fabric has a filtration efficiency of about 80% when the mask fits the face without leaks, and having leaks can drop the efficiency by about 20%. Another option with good results, a Swiffer. This is about 75% efficient.
It has certain electrostatic properties where the particles cling to it.
Pratim Biswas oversees the state-of-the-art center as Assistant Vice Chancellor of International Programs and Chair of the Department of Energy, Environmental, and Chemical Engineering.
I actually use these myself. So let's see. This is the thing which goes into the Swiffer duster, right? You can buy it anywhere. So all we do is we fold this and put it between fabric, and then we put it around and make a mask. You don't want the Swiffer material to touch your face, so we have to wrap it in some kind of fabric. It could be a bandana fabric.
His lab has also made significant progress with the development of high-quality particulate matter sensors. With COVID-19, the lab's wearable sensors are given to Washington University physicians caring for COVID-19 patients. In real time, it lets them know if there is a concentration of particles in a patient's room, which, given the circumstances, would likely have viral particles.
So I can see the data, whatever the sensor is reading on the dashboard. That can help me in measuring that this much amount of droplets were emitted and they might have virus in them.
Graduate student Shruti Chaudhary is working on miniaturizing the sensors so they can be an added feature for N95 masks worn by healthcare workers.
The physician is wearing a mask. I really want to know what's happening inside that mask, because that's what the physician is really inhaling, right? So we want to really miniaturize this and put this sensor inside the mask to give me a real-time reading. If the mask is not operating efficiently, I will immediately get a signal, and on the dashboard, there could be the manager there warning the individual, you need to come out and fix your mask.
At what point will the sensor be able to tell you what type of nanoparticle is being detected if it is in fact COVID-19?
There is a startup, Applied Particle Technology. So we are working with them to come up with the next generation design which will answer this question quite precisely. You want to tell what fraction of them are the viral particles, the virus, and not only that, is the virus also active?
You can find the full stories about the mask materials and sensors on our website, hecmedia.org.
HEC Media presents Talking with Authors, the podcast. Your favorite writers and genres with diverse subjects and styles. Like New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer, crime writer Karen Slaughter, Charles Fishman, Sarah Kendzior, Judy Blume. With new podcasts dropping bi-weekly. Subscribe to Talking with Authors wherever you get your podcasts. From HEC Media, Left Bank Books, and the St. Louis County Library.
This next story is brought to you in partnership with Missouri Life.
Is that you? Are you in?
Hi, Meg.
Yeah, come on in. See what I got.
Okay.
This is the very last one I painted for my 100th birthday.
And when do you turn 100 again?
What?
When do you turn 100 again?
August 28th. I call it my 100th
This year?
Yeah, right away.
Have you always lived in Kirksville? Is this where you grew up?
My folks came here 6 weeks after I was born, so I have lived here 100 years.
You taught art, right?
I taught art. So, but I had to stand up in front of a crowd and lecture and all that stuff. But still, the painting is what really kept me alive. I like the teaching, but I painted forever after I left college, always until right now. Mm-hmm.
How many paintings do you think you've done over your lifetime?
Oh my land, I haven't had time to count.
Could you though?
I write every name down if I remember, but I'm sure I don't remember everything. Every penny that I sell, who I sold it to, and what I got for it. And I have books full of that. But I have never gone back to count. There's hundreds and hundreds, and they're all over the world, really.
Are you surprised by how many people just are such fans of your work?
Well, it's kind of my connection to humanity. It really is, because it speaks to them. My form of painting is made to speak to people. That's why I paint like I do, instead of doing abstracts and all that. That's why I broke away. I didn't want to do that abstract stuff. I like to feel the atmosphere.
My mom always says paintings have warmth.
It sure does. And you can just, if you get out of sorts, if you go out and paint, you're so immersed in what you're doing that everything else leaves and you forget all the stuff you were worrying about. You're just me and it. It really is that way. And then I just paint like crazy, and I'll go over the whole thing all at once. So it's all knitted together. And then I'll come in the house and sit it up and look at it, and it will speak to me. We have been speaking to each other. And I'll see where it's going. Some of it surprises me because it tells me what to do. And then the next day I'll go out, I can see what's wrong with her, and then I'll go over the whole thing again with another layer. And then finally another layer of the finest of the fine detail. And then it'll take quite a little while before I get every speck of it the way I want it.
Can you tell me about how you sketched Robert Frost?
Yes, it was out at Cornell. They always had visiting lecturer, and I just sat there and drew. Anyway, I just walked right up to him afterwards and asked him if he'd autograph it. And I took his little pencil, he was kind of shaking. Robert Frost. It was so cute. I love that picture.
And you still have it?
Yeah, I'll show it to you when you get ready to go in. Yeah.
Do you have a place that just is memorable? Is there a favorite spot that you've lived or traveled?
Well, strangely to say, I never really felt at home anywhere but here. And I spent every summer here. So I'd paint here all summer, so my painting was something that went forever. It was threaded all the way through. And I never missed one Christmas in this. I've been in this house for Christmas for 100 years.
Is this your inspiration? Is your home
Absolutely.
Missouri?
Absolutely. Other places are away from home. And the funny thing was, out there, people just went crazy over the paintings I did here. They'd actually knock each other down
To
see who got the painting. Yeah.
Clara, we thank you for your time.
You're welcome. You want to go in and see Robert?
I do. I really do.
To learn more or see more stories like this, head to MissouriLife.com.
You just never know where that spark is going to come from.
You're putting a human touch to everything through the vehicle of art. We give them the ability to hope.
The St. Louis Zoo opened back up to the public on June 13th. We did submit our reopening plan to the Department of Health and it was approved, so there are some modifications to our operations. The two most important things are probably first and foremost, we are still free, but you can't just come to the zoo. So you actually have to go online and make a time ticket reservation at www.stlzoo.org. The other most important thing is that masks are required at the direction of the Department of Health. For anybody that's under the age of 9 or has a pre-existing health condition, they don't have to wear a mask. So for the most part, when our guests come to the zoo, their experience will be pretty much like it was pre-pandemic. There are a handful of attractions and habitats that will be closed, however, but generally your experience will be the same, although there might be some capacity restrictions and some modifications to operations. So the most important way we can keep our staff safe is by having, first and foremost, our public accommodate the rules, wearing the mask, social distancing. If they do that, they'll keep each other safe, they'll keep our staff safe, and they'll keep our animals safe. But there are special precautions that some of our staff are taking that work in particular animal areas. The coronavirus is what's called a zoonotic disease. So it's an animal-borne disease, that's a coronavirus, and it is zoonotic in that it came from an animal to a human. Many of them can cross over and go in the opposite direction. So there are a number of other sorts of diseases, avian influenza, tuberculosis, and a few other things, particularly with things like elephants and some birds. We're already taking precautions, not specific to COVID, but specific to other types of viruses. We have taken some special precautions with regards to working with some of the felids and a handful of other species, primarily enhanced PPE and social distancing really with regards to the animals and humans. Many of the things we're doing for COVID are no different from things we were already doing for some of our animals. That is with regards to our staff working with the animals, particularly our animal care team and our veterinary team. One of our main missions is connecting people with nature and animals. It's important to mental and physical health, and we've actually determined that and studied that here at the St. Louis Zoo with our research department and Institute for Conservation Medicine. But the important thing, I think, is we offer a safe place to come and be outside with your family. We are over 100 acres. We have 1,200 outdoor seating areas for dining, and most of the zoo is in fact outside. So if we wear our masks and we social distance, we can be relatively safe. Again, please remember to go online to make your time ticket reservations, and remember, you have to wear a mask unless you're under the age of 9 or have a pre-existing health condition.
Follow HEC Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth a feel. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lights of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry R. Women Liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Thanks for watching Spotlight. You can see all of these stories again at hecmedia.org. Join us next Sunday for more stories about the arts, authors, and culture. 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.